Mike, turn your games down.
Hi, we're episode 217 of Games My Mom Found. I am Mike Albertin, and who's Rogue Leader 1 with me tonight?
This is Peter Bingham-Pankratz, the author of the book The Fifth Civilization.
And you have Star, not one of those other randomly named characters that I can't think of a single one right now.
Wedge until he...
Wedge is the one I was like, I feel like, come on, just remember Wedge. I'm like, no, I can't even remember Wedge.
There's Porkins. That worked out well for him.
I don't think Biggs is in this. No, Biggs is dead by this.
Porkins is dead too. So
Porkins is dead. Biggs is dead. Everybody's dead.
Yeah, they all died. Well, yeah, because almost everyone in the Death Star attack died besides Wedge and Luke, right?
There was, I think, one other guy that you see escaping. That's my Star Wars knowledge. I think you see like a Y-wing leaving too.
I didn't even know that Wedge was from the movies. That makes sense. I was like, wow, this Wedge guy's really prominent. That's fun, I guess. It makes sense.
He's one of the few people that survives. So, because they all get fucking massacred in that Death Star trench run, and I get it because I went and did that level and I got massacred too.
I was thinking about the level.
So, yeah, we'll get there. So we are here to talk about a game that I have been meaning to play again for over 20 years probably. Because I remember I was introduced to this game by Peter many, many years ago in 1998 probably, or 1999.
Probably around there, yeah.
So we're here to talk about Star Wars Rogue Squadron, developed by Factor 5 and LucasArts, and came out for the 64, Windows, and came out in 1998. That's a long time ago.
It's about close to the end for N64, I think. Not in terms of maybe the golden era of N64.
Can't remember when PS2 and all those come out.
I mean,
but yeah, you're probably right because this is 64 was, I think, kind of quiet. Was a quiet game with releases too.
I think I should probably just get this out of the way now and maybe help you guys feel a little old. First memory of life, as I've mentioned on this podcast, I'm sure several times before, was unlocking Jigglypuff and Smash Brothers on the original N64 Smash Brothers. My other memory I have is of this game. I very much remember playing this game, but I was way too young to even, I think I've gotten to level 4. So I was like, oh, I remember this image, but I was so young, I never got past this game because I was just too much of a kid. So that's my memory. There's nostalgia there, but it's very much like, oh, I didn't do any of this. I just played those first 3 levels like, I could never do the leg wrap thing. I remember that made me so mad as a kid, and I'm proud to say I didn't fail it once in this whole game. And I was like, yeah, there you go, little star for you.
I did many times.
And the toe cables and stuff, the leg wrap. Yeah, we'll get into it.
We'll get there. But
it was still hard for me.
And thank you, Star, for making us feel old, because we do feel old now. Because, obviously I bought this, or either I bought it or got it as a gift, when I was probably 10 or 11 or something.
Oh, okay. See, I was probably like 4. So it's not that much. I thought it was worse. So maybe a little.
35, if I remember correctly, right, Peter? We're about the same age.
You don't have to spell it out.
I say it all the time on the show. How old I am.
I can feel my back is aching when you say that.
That happens. Wait till we hit 40. I think it gets worse.
Well, at least we'll still be talking about Star Wars video games.
Yes, I'm making a quest to go through and play as many as I can slowly throughout this show. I haven't played a lot, but I'm trying. And this is one that's been on my list to play again because back then, I played it on the N64, but I could never beat it because this game is hard.
It is hard.
Well, for me, one of the biggest issues is that this game has a lot of... I can't fly for the life of me in games. Like, I've never been good at ship game. I like them, but I'm not good at them. Mm-hmm. I miss shit constantly in this game.
This is an unusual ship game in that it's a Star Wars game, but it's all set really on planets for the most part. There's not a whole lot of space in it. I guess maybe in the final levels, but
the limitations of, even then you're still just locked in, and that's just how it is when you're designing it back then. It's like, well, we can't let you just wander this giant 360 spheres. It's like, okay, invisible walls, those exist. How do you justify it? Canyon walls. There was several times I'd be like, oh, that rock's a little high. I can go over it, right? And the game's like, no, you can't. I'm like, all right, okay, take a breath, go around the rock in my spaceship.
Yeah, or if you keep flying into the flat, camera will just turn you around. Like, well, go back.
And at the time, this was also canon. This is supposed to be what Luke was doing in between episodes 4 and 5 at the time.
Yeah, at the time, they They continually revamp this. I don't know how they fit in so many adventures in between those movies, but yeah,
this is like crazy week.
What Luke was doing.
Well, it was a couple years, wasn't it, between the two?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be like 3 years, as we discussed in our previous Star Wars.
Yeah, episode. There's lots of them, which are all nice. Going to be a nice handy link at the bottom of the show notes of this episode, so I don't have to say a damn thing. So if you want to listen to all 20-some episodes of Star Wars, we can find it all there, which I'll bring up again at the end. But I just made it. I'm proud of myself. So, but no, okay, that's how I mean, I get it. Like, I also, not every level is Luke. I think most Star Wars, there's like one level that is.
Oh, but one of the best levels, IMO. And it's not because of Luke, but I was like, I love that level. It's so good.
I mean, so this game, this is also, I mean, this is not the first flying game of Star Wars, because you had the X-Wing and TIE-Wing games for PC. Right. But as a guy who only played consoles, this was like, such a big deal to me when I first saw this game at Peter's house.
When you watched me play it, I think.
Yes, I didn't play it.
Because you would not want to fly. There's also, in Shadows of the Empire, which came out a few years before, there were a couple flying levels.
Yeah, they're first person.
There was a Hoth level was the first level.
Oh, yeah.
And that was kind of like this when you had to... There was a Hoth level in this game. It's at you can unlock it. For that was the first flying one. There were space flying levels in that, but it was mostly, like you said, it was either first person or it was kind of on a set course. You didn't really fly around too much.
Yeah, and this, you get completely able to fly around the level and do what you need to do and shoot things, and there's buildings and there's different. And from watching the speed run of the PC version, the N64 version runs a lot better, because in the PC the TIE interceptors like hover back and they look they look really jaggedy.
It drove me. Yeah, no, it's really bad. There's a lot of things, because I did play the Steam version of this game, so which is essentially a re-release, or maybe it is just the original, just working for modern.
It's just the original
PCs. Yeah, but the jagginess of the ships flying, it was kind of like they were just always wobbling back and forth, no matter which direction or where they were going. So it's like, just makes it hard, It's just like your head is shaking or something when you're looking at every other ship.
It's really ugly, Peter. Look it up. It is ugly. It is.
I completely agree.
I will look it up. Yeah.
I'm excited to kind of, as we talk about it, there are things that I experienced that I'm like, I don't know if it was like this in the original or in the version you guys are playing, but holy hell.
So I played the 64 version on a Steam Deck, on a plane, the way Lucas intended, by the way, because I was flying this past week, so I'm like, and it was just coincidence. So twice now in my life, the 2 times I've flown since I started this podcast, I had a flying game on the schedule of the show around the same time I went on a flight, which was all completely coincidence, actually. Because I didn't think I write the schedule so far in advance. Yeah, I loaded up my Steam Deck and I played this game on a plane and on an airport.
All right,
and laughed to myself.
I wonder how that would compare. Like I played it on Nintendo 64, the vintage 5-year-old cartridge or whatever. It still works. And but the thing is, I don't know how, because using the controller is easy for me because I use it, but I don't know if I could do it on a Steam Deck or anything.
It wasn't too bad. The only issue with any N64 game on a Steam Deck is you have to get used to the right joystick is your C buttons. You have to get used to that being buttons and not, a joystick.
It's ingrained for me that it would be hard, probably.
That was a nice thing with the PC version, and I used a gamepad. I didn't use mouse and keyboard or a flight stick. That should have been the real experience.
Yeah, but you have to have a flight stick.
Yeah, I'll go to Goodwill. There's like 7 every time I go.
You're not wrong.
But I played on controller, and on PC it did allow you to map buttons. So that was nice to be like. But one thing, and I looked it up in the booklet because it drove me nuts. I'm trying to find what it is. I think it's called drop cam or far. It's one of those camera views, like when you boost, the camera just backs up just way too much. And I don't know if you guys experienced this, but on PC.
Oh, yeah.
What is that? Who thought? It drove me nuts. I literally had to play. I feel like there's only 2 views to play this game in, which is first person or third person, or like very close, the closest third person, because any other view is, hey, we're just gonna send the camera back. You don't need to see anything, right? And I'm like, you're right. Thanks, game. What am I thinking here? And it drove me nuts. Every time I'd be like in the middle of a fight trying to shift to the right camera, and you just have to click through. And I'm like, we just didn't. I think the booklet calls it drop cam. And I'm like, I don't know why somebody thought drop cam is good, exists, created it, implemented it, and let's do that. Require it.
Nothing.
I know what you mean, and I don't know why it's in there. I have no idea why they would do that.
I looked it up in the booklet, like I looked up a PDF of the original booklet because I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I read it and I can't find it now. But yeah, it's called like drop cam, and I was like, even just turn it off. Like in the settings on PC, there's a lot of really cool settings for like auto roll and auto level, which I'm looking at the N64 booklet. It's in here too. And I was like, oh, that's so neat that and adjusting those settings really helps with certain, like, I tried it one way for a while and then I switched. I was like, oh, that actually is a lot better. This is really cool. And I'm like, why is there not a fucking setting to turn off drop cam? Who on God's green earth is like, oh, this is the way for me.
This is 98.
Yeah.
That's all I got. It's just too old to have all those settings. Because the PC version, from what I've noticed, it looks just to be, because this game came out for Windows in the same time it came out on N64. It's just the same. They didn't change anything.
Yeah, the menu, from what I'm guessing and what I remember vaguely, but I'm pretty sure the opening menu is different, and that allows for like profiles in like a very more PC accessible way rather than the N64 way, and then like typing in codes on the keyboard, stuff like that. Like, so it is slightly different, but once you get past that screen, I do think it's basically 1-to-1 outside of that, and then like the pause menu is different because they have more settings.
Okay.
But yeah, I imagine it's mostly similar. I imagine like the levels and stuff don't have anything additional.
Yeah, no, nothing I could tell for when I was looking and like looking at videos and reading through the booklet. I'm like, yep, this all tracks. Especially even drop cam.
Especially the hated drop cam.
I didn't speed up a whole lot. I think that's the reason I had a hard time with this game. I actually slowed down a lot because I was trying to get my shots.
Well, yeah. There's only, I think the X-Wing you can boost. I'm trying to remember, maybe the V-Wing, the last level, you can do it too. But there aren't a whole lot of ships that let you boost.
I thought I was boosting with A, but I don't with a snow speeder. But maybe it was just me thinking I was going faster when I really wasn't.
I think the air speeder, I think it's just the A-Wing doesn't. Because I don't know which one's
A-Wing is a piece of shit.
Oh, geez, sorry, hit a hot button.
So I had to cheat in this game. I had to put I give up to get infinite life.
That's fair.
The A-Wing.
Infinite lives, you said?
Yeah, I got to a point where I had to do that. The volcano level. Right.
There's no like level settings in this. There's no like easy mode. It's just one. Yeah. It's just one setting, and if the level is hard, it's too bad. You better get through it. If the level's too hard, you're not going to, keep going.
The game starts off easy enough. Mos Eisley is very easy, where you go and get introduced to the game, and why they're on Tatooine, I don't understand that completely, because Tatooine is run by the Hutts, but maybe that wasn't written yet. Who knows? Or it didn't matter. But
it's the reason why every Star Wars movie goes back to Tatooine, because the audience loves that desert wasteland.
Hey, Force Awakens didn't go to Tatooine; they went to Jakku.
Right. It's a totally different
planet. No, nothing to like. Nothing.
I know it's familiar.
Especially in 98. I mean, when you really, the prequels weren't, because Phantom Menace is 99, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that makes sense. Like,
although there is one prequel reference in this game.
Which is hidden, isn't it?
It is hidden, yeah.
Okay.
Excuse? I'm not super up to Star Wars lore, I'm not going to lie. What?
Oh, the Naboo Starfighter.
There's
wasn't announced at the time, but it's in this game with certain.
It was a complex code where you had to enter in. You had to enter one passcode, and then it would tell you it wasn't valid. And then you have to enter in a second passcode, and also tell you it wasn't valid. But then by entering those two things in, you get the ship. And they didn't release it until after the movie came out.
I see.
And the Naboo Starfighter is the best ship in the game, but you can't get it unless you have the code. So
that makes sense, yeah. Because that, I think contextually, something to just constantly keep in mind is where Star Wars was relative to this game coming out, i.e., where they were in the where they were in the movie release series, and then also what the mindset was of LucasArts. There was back then when it's like, oh, we're making content. What are we doing? And it's like, oh, well, we're gonna have it be Luke Skywalker. Of course, you're gonna play Luke Skywalker. Right. He's the hot shit, and he's gonna fly a bunch of missions in his classic vehicle, the X-Wing. And like, I think that really shapes a lot of the design of like what this game chooses to be, and elements like that. It's like, oh, I didn't, that's neat to know, because even in the booklet actually doesn't mention that vehicle. It also doesn't mention the Millennium Falcon, which is something you get to fly with a code, or if you get gold on every mission. Which also, I'm gonna take a breath. I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna let it go. Who the fuck was like, oh, we need to make requirements for a rating? Accuracy, yes, accuracy. Why would you just shoot
the worst?
Oh, it made me so mad.
As someone who took the time when I was 11 or 12 to get those gold coins, you get a silver and they'd be like, oh, your accuracy was 24%. You need 25%. I'm sorry, you don't get the gold. And it's like, what?
Everyone remembers that scene right after Luke comes from blowing up the death star. Whoa, you did it, Luke! Congrats! Did shoot a few too many times. Like, we're happy you did it. But like,
we're paying by the laser here.
Could you shoot less? Be a little more accurate? Thanks, bud. Jesus.
I want to see that where they're attacking it, they're giving it points off, and they give a debriefing. Like, I'm sorry, we can't give you a medal anymore.
I got bronze.
I got bronze. The award ceremony, but Luke's holding bronze. Like, I shot too many times. Damn it. Now I'll get him next time at the next Death Star.
That was my. I didn't like the ratings. I mean, the accuracy part, I think was the. I agree with you guys. Was the worst for me too, because I would just shoot nonstop at enemies, right. So I didn't give a shit.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of goes back into game design in the 90s, where it's like, oh, we need to give them something new. Because really, for me, as someone who was able to get through a lot of these levels, I could probably go through this campaign beginning to end in like 3 hours with just like straight. So back then, it's like, oh, well, that, you know, if people do that, there needs to be more content. What do we do? It's like, it was ratings, and one of us, they probably did it. And they made not accuracy. They're like, oh shit, it's still too easy. Throw in accuracy, really mess them up.
They'll hate this.
Yeah. But yeah,
I watched speedruns of this, like of a guy playing the PC version for going for 100%. Like, it kind of taught me. And I'm sure Peter played more like this way too. You can just line up your shots and take them out. I mean, I would just sit there and like shoot constantly and just miss constantly.
Hold on. So you line up your shot and you shoot, as opposed to what's the other alternative? It's a legitimate question.
Literally, just hold down the fire button and try to line them up in the green circle and miss constantly.
Okay. I see what you mean. Okay.
I just got lucky. Like, I would try to position in front of it, thinking, okay, I need to shoot in front of them because I need the shots to time it. And I don't know if this game works that way, but I didn't hit nothing.
It does if they're far enough away. Like, you really only need to do that if you're really trying to make a shot. But I think at one point the game even gives you some sort of critique, like, hey, you don't need to do that. Just get closer. I think it's in one of the tips. It's like, don't just fly away, come back in a straight run and shoot. Don't just like dogfight all day, please.
I missed. I had terrible, I had a really hard time with this game.
I am surprised how much I didn't because of my memory as a kid and a lot of the limitations of it. The other thing that made me really mad, and the mission that I eventually turned on Infinite Lives, and it was the only mission I needed it for, was it's like I have the booklet open. It's like one of the Y bomber missions where the Y bomber. No, it wasn't that one. I think it was the first one, which is, I think it's Liberation of Gerard 5. I think it's the one where you're just bombing buildings to blow them up, but then it brings a ship in, and it's like, hey, bomb this ship that's moving. And I'm like, okay, I think I can do this. And I kept getting so close that the bomb would blow me up and the ship, and I would lose. And I got really mad. I was like, what the fuck? I hate that I could blow myself up with this bomb. And then I realized there is a camera view specifically with the Y-Wing that sort of helps. But I still kept blowing myself up with my own bombs. And I was like, this is dumb. I hate this.
Yeah. If you go too low, that will happen. I mean, the Y-Wing's a really powerful ship. It's just really slow. And that's the problem with it. And it's just, it's like you could use the Y-Wing on more missions when you're just blowing up things, but they have to make it hard by giving you different weapons or give it different ships and everything. And it'd be kind of annoying. Because, the level where you're driving flying the snow speeders through the Imperial construction yards. And you're like, I would just take a Y-Wing and start bombing those,
Oh, yeah.
Why do you need to fly these snow speeders?
Yeah, it is pretty weird that it limits you on your choice. I think on all of them, I think it's like you get one, maybe one that gives you like two options, which is between the A-Wing and the X-Wing. Because essentially, for each mission, your first time through, it's like, hey, use this ship. And you have to, as you're describing. Yeah. And then later, it'll let you go back and I think play some other ships, or if you enter cheat codes, use ships like the other one sitting here, the Millennium Falcon. It just like, oh yeah, that ship is bananas. It is like driving a bus, but it has auto turrets, and I'm like, I don't know about this But yeah, the primary ships are the X-Wing, the A-Wing, the Y-Wing, and the Airspeeder. Those are the four that you mostly go back and forth between.
Yeah.
I didn't like the snow speeder, but they make you use it anytime there's a thought of an AT-AT, right?
Right.
That's all you can use. Yeah.
I still hate that fact that there's no, you think an X-Wing, the blaster would be powerful enough to penetrate the armor.
You can't even use the cheat ships. If you have the Millennium Falcon activated, you cannot use it on those missions because it's like, hey, bud, I know you want to just pew, 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 but you do have to use the ropes to make the big guys go down.
That is that's the other really annoying thing about this game, is that you must use the tow cables, what they call it, because it's really hard. It took me a long time when I was younger, and when I was playing it again this time, it took me a little bit. But I would hate those missions because I would always crash.
Yeah, same. When I was a kid, I couldn't.
Or if you get too far away from it while you're doing it, it releases the game and you gotta start over again.
Also, I could not figure out how to do it. I had to Google it because I was like, what am I doing? Like, I know what I need to do, but how do I do it? I need to activate it because all ships have a primary fire and a secondary fire.
Right.
So the snow speeder it is the second fire is your cable. And I was like, okay, how do I do it? Do I aim? Like I'm hitting the button and I'm just getting a burp, burp, and I'm like, okay, I understand that's wrong, but no one is telling me what's right.
No,
yeah, there should be an in-game thing that says go really close to it and press Z or press
again.
whatever.
I think it goes back to the time of like it's the booklet. The booklet is. I'm looking at it now. It's like 20 pages, 5 of which are a little mini comic, and then like a bunch of credits. That's really cute. But I'm sure in there, that's what you do. You pull the book. Oh, Jimmy, how do you do all the booklet says Johnny? We gotta get to his legs. We gotta take him down.
I wonder if the booklet part was also to prevent renting too, to help with that. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I feel like it could be another thing. To be like, you want to rent our game? Well, you won't know what to do. It wasn't an option.
I didn't. You see, the only place I ever rented from was a local video store, and they would always be like, "Do you want the booklet?" And our parents would be like, "No, because you lose it, you have to pay for it."
I'm trying to remember the places where I would rent from. Did they have the booklet or not? I guess I don't remember.
They didn't. I mean, Blockbuster did not. I can say that for a fact.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's.
But I know they just had the cartridges. But I rented from somewhere else. I rented from a local video store for a couple years, and they might have given you the box, but it was so long ago that who remembers.
Well, I would say you can ask them, but they're not there anymore.
Oh, they're not there anymore. Yeah, you guessed it.
There's no rental place even in Minnesota. The last rental place in Minnesota just closed down recently.
Pushes glasses up nose. Mine's still here. They mostly sell coffee and ice cream. That's why they're still here.
Hey, when I drove through New Mexico, I did see a video rental store.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
It just wasn't the videos that you were looking for.
I think it was like last year or 2 years ago, they did a documentary about like a one, and mine was the one in my town was featured at one point.
Oh, the Blockbuster?
No, well, that one is nearby, but it's actually...
That's gone now, by the way.
The last Blockbuster?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we're out of business.
I need to stop. It's Great American Video Espresso, shout out, but I'm looking this up because I'm about to...
I'm pretty sure I read something where that place actually, it went out of business, even though it was the last one left.
I just saw them at Retro Game Expo, October of last year. And they were like,
I'm wrong.
Well, they might have between then, but I'd be really sad. I'd be like, oh, they just didn't make it.
But anyway, kind of like with one thing with this game that also I really like. I think the missions are good and varied. I mean, yes, you're doing a lot of the same thing, but I feel like there's also a good story going on. Like the whole idea is that first you're just doing a few fighting ties and fighting the Empire. Then you have pretty quickly on you have the person that ends up part of the elite TIE interceptor group that ends up defecting to you. I forget her name.
Kaysen Moore.
Yes, and I think she's in the books, isn't she?
No, she might have been added in later ones, but I don't think she was really a part of the canon. I don't remember her from any of the...
Oh, okay, she's only added.
I think that she may just be for this game.
Okay, but I thought that was cool that involves so much of what you're doing is her giving you, instructions like, hey, go, this is an important base they have, let's go blow it, let's blow shit up.
It's true.
There's a mission where at one point, eventually this person defects and you rescue her and she becomes pretty central to the plot. And I think it's Wedge gets captured. And at one point, you're flying with one of your other like OG pilots and her, and they both give you different directions about where Wedge is. And I think she gives you the correct one, I'm pretty sure. Because then the other guy's like, no, I think he's here. And what if she's lying because she's a traitor? I'm like, but then she actually isn't. I was totally waiting for the hat to drop to be like, oh, I'm turning again. And it never did. And I was happy about that. So I'm like, oh, good. Thank goodness.
You rescue a couple people. You have her that joins you. You have someone that's defecting on Corellia. You have to go rescue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's someone else.
Yeah, that's General Maydean. General Maydean he's the guy in Return of the Jedi who comes out for like 2 seconds and says, General Solo, is your strike team assembled?
Oh, okay.
I was wondering, because I'm looking at the booklet and it does have pictures, like actual photos of real people for all the characters except Kaysen Moore and the end game antagonist, Sirdon.
That's because they weren't in the movies.
I know, but it is funny that it's like the other three, Dak, Ralter, Wes, and Zev. I'm like, I don't think, as you guys have said, I don't think those dudes make it out. And I'm looking at these photos and I'm like, I don't think they took OG new photos or they're
But anyway. I thought that was just. I'm sure those were just pictures from the movies or like cast photos that they put in there. But the original characters don't have photos. There's no video, there's no computer generated humans in this, which is, I'm sure, for the limitations of the time.
Oh, the models on the PC, because the PC, you have the higher res and so you can see it. The way they did models is so cute and iconic for it's basically I think it's 2 or 3 2D sprites all intersected. So, and then they have parts of it moving. So it's really fun. I also did not feel good at any point when it was oh, hey, yeah, just go shoot or bomb all of those foot soldiers. And I'm like, I know they're bad.
That was fun.
I feel good. I felt terrible.
I love shooting little foot stormtroopers.
Just see them go, ah!
There's like I do like the scream, but there's like 40 of them, and it's like, oh, I'm in a Y-wing. Oh, they're all gone. You just wiped out 40 lives. Like that. And I'm like, all right, well, thank goodness I'm the good guy. It's time to go keep doing good guy stuff.
It's interesting. So you have no problem blowing up space station, but shooting individual soldiers is a line.
Too much for
well, the space stations do not scream. To be fair, I think that's a big seller.
That is true.
It was fun to see all the enemy.
The sprites, though, or maybe not sprites, but the 3D models of little stormtroopers on the ground is freaking hilarious to me too.
I lost one life to them shooting me down, and I was like, God, the pride you must feel.
Oh,
be like, I had no help, and he was like, pew pew, and I went down. I'm like, damn, congrats, dude. You get MVP. You get the gold medal for this mission.
Imagine being that guy. He's like, you shot for all the times the stormtroopers missed. The one time you shoot down a ship.
I'm surprised that I didn't think their blasters would be strong enough to even hurt you, because I feel like with ships, like, I mean, in modern day, like, I mean, in real life, you shoot at a ship with a gun, it ain't gonna do anything because you're gonna hit it for one thing. So,
but
right?
you know,
wouldn't the armor be thicker?
It depends on the plane. I think it's in World War II. I think there were some occasions where a lucky shot.
But that was. I mean, those things were made out of like tin. I felt like.
Well, yeah, you hit the pilot or something.
I mean, they weren't made out of tin. But they were like. I mean, there were bombers that would come back with just holes all over them and still flying somehow. I
think in this game, you have to probably be pretty damaged already.
I was on my last leg. Like, it was not like... But it is weird. I don't know, the shooting sound and animation. I mean, it looked like they fired like 20 shots and it was weird. But anyway, but I did like all the... I did like all the just enemies, different types. Like, I'm looking at the booklet again. There's like the wave skimmer. That is so wild. And like, I think all the other ones look a lot more iconic and like, I don't know, they feel different than like the tank droid. I don't think tank droids, maybe there's like one in the background, but it looks jank. The wave skimmer is cute and fun. I like watching it skim across the water. But I'm like, there's not something very Imperial Force about this little guy bouncing on the water.
I like those things. They're only in a couple levels. I think near the
end.
Yeah, no, I like them. I think they're really cool. And then the bonus mission, I think we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I forget what it's called, the Planet Sucker or whatever it's called.
Yeah, that's the final one. That's one of the wave skimmers. Yeah,
that thing was terrifying. This game to me did its best when it was like, hey, we're going to do something different. And it was like, here's a big ass thing that's sucking up water and you can get sucked up into its exhaust in the back. And it like has all these little like slit gun ports that are firing you. And you just, that was one of probably my favorite mission. And I was like, I wish the game was just more of like this. Like, I know the V-Wing, which is a vehicle I didn't mention because that's when you unlock it. It's like the last official mission of the game, not one of the 3 bonus missions that comes after.
Put in all the cheat codes, and you have all the ships.
Yeah, which I did at the end. Near the end, I was like the last 2 missions. I was like, I want to know what it's like to fly the Millennium Falcon, and it was bust time. But the V-Wing was probably my favorite ship. Like I did do the Naboo fighter like once or twice, and I do feel that I'm pretty sure at least it feels faster. It feels cool, but man, that V-Wing, it's just chain gun laser time. Woo, yeah. That was satisfying.
It has missiles that like shoot 6 missiles or whatever.
And they home too.
Cluster missile. Yeah, homing cluster.
That's the only way I could shoot down some of the TIE interceptors in the end of that level because I had to use missiles.
Yeah. I really liked that mission, and that was just a perfect snapshot of like, wow, I wish the game did more like this. Not just the OP shit, but like I feel like it was shined its best when it was like, we're gonna do this, or it's like, hey, here's a little mission where the one after, which is the first bonus mission, I heard it's called like the something run, where it's just you're on
Canyon.
Yeah, you're just on like the OG sand planet, and you're with your buds, and you're flying these like little dinky ships and racing. And I was like, well, I actually did that enough till I got gold because I was like, this is really fun. I like this. This is engaging. There's character interaction that feels good, not just, we got to do the thing. Let's blow up. Let's protect this or blow that up for the 40th time. Whee! And I was like, oh, all right. Or get all the enemy ships. And so that was one thing I kept feeling like, wow, I really like that. It makes the other stuff not as much interesting, and I don't want to go back to it.
Okay.
It would have been nice to have like a training mode instead of unlocking like the racing mission. It could be like a separate training mode, just so you could like race or like learn how to shoot or something.
That would have been nice.
Yeah.
I also like one thing I learned pretty quickly in this game is that whenever you have an AT-AT, they are not optional. You have to destroy them.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Because there were a couple times where I just was ignoring them, and then they blew up whatever the hell I was. There's lots of missions in this game where you're protecting stuff, protecting the shuttles, protecting all sorts of things. Like I think the third mission, or the second mission is the convoy. The third mission is where you have to go, I think, with a ship. That's where you have to use the A-Wing. That's where I found out the A-Wing is garbage.
Yep.
As I made my comment earlier, because I had a really hard time with the A-Wing.
Yeah, you had to find it, and there's several different paths to find it. You could, if you go down the wrong path, you have to turn around and go find it.
That was also the case with the Y-Wing, one of the Y-Wing missions where you were doing, I think it was like the first one where it's like all these little trenches and it's like, oh yeah, the last objective, you need to go back and like take a UE. And I was like, I hate this.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, the A-Wing was probably my least favorite of like the class.
It has the weakest armor and the weakest blasters.
But you're so speedy, Mike. That's probably why you hate it, because you got to be zooming. You got to be zooming.
No, I was just blowing up constantly with that. Because I was trying to play this game legit at first. Or not completely legit. I had save saves. But no cheat codes. It wasn't until I got to a certain point where I said, fuck it. It was later in the game when I put I give up. Because when I beat a game, I don't rank it, but I log it in my little notepad of how I beat it. If I use save states, if I use cheat codes, and I try not to use cheat codes, I try to just use save states. So I'm still having the more legit, in quotations, experience for me. But This was a game where I was like, nah, I'm tired of dying.
Yeah, there was definitely some spots that felt more ridiculous. But as you were also saying, kind of like I think there's three main types of missions. Take out all the enemies, blow up these buildings, or defend this thing, whether it's a convoy or a building. And God, it just got so old. I was like, so there's also 2 chapters, 2 or 3. I think it's 2, whatever. There's like 14 missions, 3 chapters. There it is. I was looking at the booklet, I couldn't see it. And by like the 7th mission, I was like, oh, I need something else. And that's why like it's called the Rescue on Kessel, which is when Wedge gets captured and you have to rescue him. And it was just like, hey, stop this convoy with these like EMP weapons, but don't blow it up. And I was like, oh, this is actually fun. But it was also over like that. Because I don't know if it is this way on the N64, but on PC, there's no fire cap to the disruptor. So you just sort of and then like, it's done. Yeah, and I was like, oh, well, that's over. It was.
Yeah, it's a very short mission.
The goal time for like that is like 2 minutes. And I'm like, no, thanks. This is one of the most like fun I've had. And it's like, yeah, all right, let's keep moving. Back to defending, blowing up, or blowing these guys up. Come on.
Yeah. I love the blowing up missions though, because at least like thank God I don't have to save anybody's lives. Like there's the mission, like I mentioned, the construction yards. You're just blowing up these big factories. I'm like, great. And then there's the one where it's called Assault on Kyle 2, where you're just blowing up spaceport. You're just bombing it. And when I was a kid, that was really fun, because when you're a kid, you love bombing things. So you just
Peter,
dropping these
100% in the move.
Right, exactly.
It was fun though. Like I didn't like when I had to rescue people. Like there's one level where you have to escort 3, not ATSTs, but they're like some like experimental model or something. They're in the commandos.
The little they're like baby walkers.
Oh, they're I think they're ATPTs or something.
Yeah, because they're not in the movie. Whatever.
All-terrain personal transport, small 2-legged weapon system.
It did not end well for them. When I finished that level, there was one guy left that made it out of the 3 that started, because the other 2 just got blown to smithereens.
Well, so
was that Escape from Fast? That was a snow level, right? Is that?
I think so. This game loves speeder, so
yeah. They're on. It's a snow level, and there are the giant walkers, and you have to take the walkers out and also blow up dams. But your teammates are supposed to do it, but sometimes they don't do it very well. So
I purposely tried to leave the dam so that way the guys wouldn't go where they shouldn't go, so I could destroy enemies. Yeah, the dam. If you try to do that, they blow up the dam anyway.
So the thing about those missions, I had something, or the vehicles. Can't remember what it was. I totally spaced. Anyway, you keep talking. It might come back. Oh yeah, no, it was about the. Now it left again. Wow, that was weird. I hate it. You guys keep talking. It'll come back. I'll remember. I'm looking through the book.
I didn't like protect. There's a lot of protecting things in this game. Like there's lots of them like, oh, you got to protect it. I'm like, I don't want to protect. I just want to shoot.
It's supposed to be challenging, but it can get annoying the more times you do it, especially if you have to protect something while trying to knock down a walker with
or not die.
All right. Yeah, I do remember this time, and it's related. Or if you need to protect something, but go kill enough enemies, or find a secret hidden item somewhere on the map. That was really frustrating, because for a while I was kind of trying to get goals at least. But before a mission started, it wouldn't tell you if there was a secret item. Some maps had it, some didn't. And then to get gold, you would need to find it. And I'd be really mad because it's like, okay, well, I need to protect these dudes, but I also need to go find the thing. So I'm going to leave them alone, go to the other side of a map to a secret little enemy pod, blow all them up. Oh, there's the item. I come back. And yeah, there's one little stupid ATPT left walking up to the final cutscene. I'm like, well, sorry, buddy. I had to go find the hidden item somewhere. Maybe on the next one. Yeah, that drove me nuts.
Those items do stick, though, and they do upgrade your ship a whole bunch. Like I think you get better shields, you get better blasters, better rockets and stuff.
I think you get homing missiles, because
I think
your missiles don't track unless you get those power up.
And I do just kind of wish before mission started, it would be like, hey, there is a secret on this level, so you're not just flying around going, well, I hope it's here. Or until you finish the mission, it's like, nah, you did miss it. Go do it again, you punk nugget. I'm like, God damn it. All right, sorry, PT, you're not going to live this time.
I also wasn't a fan. I'm not a fan of Y-Wings either.
This is why I was glad to have done this all 20
years ago.
When you were young and had time.
Actually, is it? Yeah, 20 years ago.
I was going to say, I did this all 20 years ago, so like I already have all the power-ups and everything and all the ships unlocked.
Oh!
So I did the work.
Oh, well, yeah, you're resting on your laurels. Your hard work, it's there.
Right.
See, that's fair.
That was hard
work, as long as the cartridge
actually
still works, as long as it doesn't break, it's still out. So I did the heavy lifting, when I was a teenager or whatever, and now I can be on podcasts where we talk about old games, and I can just I've done all the work already.
That's really wholesome. This little teenage you helped you out all these years later. Be like, don't worry, I got you. I
didn't even know I'd be discussing them. I thought didn't know what a podcast was back then.
They didn't exist back then, I don't think. Or at least they weren't called podcasts.
It was called talk radio,
and not everybody had one.
Angry white men talking about how much they hated.
Yeah, there's still. I mean,
well, that's what a lot of podcasts are anyway. But
I was gonna say, it's like,
this one does involve some
AM radio.
I gotta talk about game, but normally, actually, almost everything on this show I enjoy now. So almost
good.
Everything.
You have to play some really bad games though. If you
not anymore as much because I pick every game I put on. So there's no co-host but me.
Right.
So it's gotten there's less bad stuff for some reason. It's weird how that works.
Yeah, so I think we've talked a lot about a lot of the missions. I think maybe finishing up
a couple.
There's like, some of them are the same. As I've mentioned, it's like, oh yeah, there was another mission where I had to go through the moon and find the enemy bases and blow them up. But like the last few kind of focus on of the story introduces the antagonist whose name eludes me, but you guys have said him before. But that dude, Moff Searden, yeah.
I like that. I also feel like in Star Wars, as a guy who didn't read the books, you don't get a lot of other Moffs. I know there are other Moffs because it's a freaking galactic empire. They're going to have, multiple people high up in charge. So like before this, the only one I can really think of is just Grand Moff Tarkin that I'm aware of.
I'll be a Star Wars. This is really Star Wars nerdy, but yeah. There was also in Return of the Jedi, there was Moff Jerjerrod. He was in charge of the second Death Star.
Oh, I don't.
No, he was a Moff too, which is
I'm assuming
I don't know if you're very aware of Star Wars.
No, as a complete identification of this spectrum of Star Wars knowledge, I did not realize Moff was not his first name until the second.
Oh, I was like,
I'm looking at it now. I'm like, oh, that makes more sense.
It's like a title that they don't really use too often in Star Wars, but it's like you're like high up on the chain. You're like a governor kind of thing.
Or you're in charge of a Death Star and you get blown up.
Yeah.
But introducing that character and that story arc of the end, because after, you get this defector and you guys start hitting all these like secretive Imperial areas, Moff sort of they mentioned Moff in one other mission, and I think the next mission he arrives is like, oh, but Moff, blah, blah, it's really scary. And then he's in the next mission like, I'm going to get your ass.
He's great. The voice work is great because he's like this British guy. He's like, oh, he's so snide. He's like, oh, I'm going to shoot you all down.
Yeah, he's
quality. He's like campy. That. He's really campy.
Engaged, and I want to blow this dude out of the sky.
Yeah.
And I play this game entirely with sound, which is not normal for me on the show, because I just love the sound effects, like everything. I loved all the Star Warsy stuff. It was great.
Oh yeah.
Those screams.
Well, yeah. How else you get the screams?
It was great. The blasters, everything, like the music. I was getting really into this. Like I put both headphones in. I was just happy just playing it. Like I loved it.
Yeah,
one level
I have to agree.
I want to talk about is the level that reminded me of Cloud City, where you're fighting whatever the hell you're doing. Like you're blowing up Imperial supplies, and why they painted their symbol on their supplies only.
Battle above Taloran, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah.
It's like the first mission of Chapter 3.
I like that level.
It's really different than just like a planet with like mountains and hills. Like it's just above the clouds, and it's got that John Williams music playing in the background.
I didn't understand like you're just destroying like what gas supplies, right? I think.
Yeah, but you can't. They were like, I forget what the exact mission is, but
there's ones that are labeled Imperials,
right?
And there's ones
in
that
the middle
aren't.
of civilian ones, and you have to.
You're blowing
too many civilian ones.
You lose.
Yeah, the Tabana gas, which is breathable air for high altitudes, according to the booklet. I don't know at all, but yeah, they have the Empire ones, and then the civilian ones. It's like, oh, we got to blow up the civilian ones, and I guess I feel like the conclusion would have to be if you blow up the Imperial ones, all the Imperial people immediately die, because otherwise the counter idea is, well, now it's time to steal the civilian ones. I mean,
that's what would happen.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like they wouldn't differentiate it in real life. They just have that's all Imperial gas now.
Yeah, exactly. No. We're nice. This is the nice Imperial sect of like, dude, it's cool. You can have yours, we can have ours.
I remember there were people inside those things at first. I was like, because they're like, you killed too many civilians. I'm like, civilians inside these things? Like, what the hell?
So yeah, again, I feel like that, your liking of that mission is a really another point of highlighting. Like, yeah, when the game is not doing the thing it does, I'd say 60% of the time, it really shines. It's like, whoa, we have to blow up these specific targets and to see other targets. It's a really open. That I think is a mission where it's like there's no boundaries. You can just zoom around and there's very central hot spots of activity. So flying off in a different direction, there's no real reason. At least it feels more freeing than canyon walls have me trapped in and I can't get out. But that is in the chapter 3, and I just really feel like chapter 3, besides it does have the ATPT protection mission, and it does have the volcano mission, which you guys have talked about. I went through that one really fast, so I don't know hatred that's there.
I did too, sort of, because I just kept crashing and respawning because I had different lives.
Okay. There's like a bunch of missile defense platforms that will shoot you down, and I remember that being. I mean, it was pretty hard.
I kept running. So at the volcano mission, you have to blow up these shield generators. They're protecting the central unit. And that's in the sky and rotating. After I blew them all up, which I didn't have a lot of problem with, I then kept running into it. That was my biggest problem. It's like, okay, I need to shoot at this because you can't bomb it because it's in between these little wedges. So I'd be shooting it and I'd go inside it and be like, okay, cool. I can just shoot them as they come. And then I would hit a wall and die. I'm like, oh, invisible wall. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess not. That was my biggest problem with that mission.
Yeah.
It did amuse me, how much I like how much damage you're doing to the Empire in this, but it's really just affecting the one Moff. Which I like the idea that they're fighting another, they're trying to take out another part of the Empire. That's trying to hunt them down or interfering with them while they're after what happened with Yavin. I liked all that.
Yeah. So this game. It's not really based on... So there were a series of books, Rogue Squadron novels, which are really good Star Wars books. They're maybe the best Star Wars novels. And this takes a little bit from those because in those books, there was stuff about Bacta, which is one of the levels. But Bacta was a medical thing. And there was a Moff that controlled the Bacta, and the Rogue Squadron was tasked with destroying his supplies of this stuff. So it does draw a little bit from the books. And the last level, in fact, the battle with the World Destroyers, World Suckers, was from the Dark Empire comic book, which Mike and I talked about.
Yeah, we covered a while ago. You can see in the show notes what episode. I don't even know what episode that was, but yeah, okay, that's cool. I did not put 2 and 2 together. Those were from the comic.
Right. So it was weird in that it was taking some properties from the books and adapted them to a video game format, and you don't really need to have read them to understand what's going on, but it does. If you're a Star Wars nerd, you're going to be like, oh, this is from book X and this is from Dark Empire, etc., etc.
Yeah, which I think kind of for me, a lot of that kind of goes back to this feeling of nostalgia. I agree with Mike, the sound effects, the music, they're all iconic, even to me as someone who's only seen 4.5 of the Star Wars 5.5 movies. None of a whole series. They're all bits and pieces. But
you just need to see the original. I mean, I like majority of them, but you just need the original.
Never finished. I've seen the first 2 of the original, and I thought I've seen the last one, but years ago it was on cable, and I was like, oh, it's the last 20 minutes of the last episode, and I put it on. I was watching. I'm like, yeah, I've never seen this. I didn't know how this original trilogy ended. Apparently, he has thrown that 2 in the hole. But
and he's not dead, by the way. Surprise!
Yeah, of course not. Why would he? That I did know. I've heard that through the grapevine. But for me, without that nostalgia element, there's parts that are still iconic. The music, the sound effects, the little scream is iconic now to me in my heart. But I think that is a large part of what makes this game stand today, if at all. I would be like, yeah, do you have fond memories of this game? Yeah. Do you want that good nostalgia of the classic years before it all got real wonky? Yeah, go play it, have a good time. If anyone else is like, I just kind of want an N64 space fighter, I'd be like, listen, unless you really like the Star Wars, maybe look somewhere else. I just don't. It drove me nuts. There was all these little things when it was being what it was at its core that I was like, wow, I hate this. Then anytime I was like, let's do something different, I was like, this was a lot of fun. I really wish you just did this. Just changed it up and had little character interactions like Moff. Moff was so great and fun. And then you have a dogfight with Moff as the finale of the main missions. And I was like, oh, this is so neat. I'm having a great time. It's really hard. That was one of the hardest parts to me, was fighting him. And I think I did restart that mission twice because I lost. But it was fun. And I felt like I really had to work to kill him. And I was like, well, that's the game. At least I'm leaving on a high note, I guess.
he took a while to kill. So
yeah, whatever his armor is, they've upped it because you shoot a couple missiles at him, it doesn't really affect him after a couple times.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that's kind of what I just kept feeling like throughout a lot of those basic main missions. I was just like tired, and I'm like, I get it, another one of this, and with a moment of like, oh yeah, whoopee, something different. And then the bonus missions, which I do want to mention, we've talked about one, which was the friends flying through the dunes, just buddies having a good time. The other two are iconic scenes of the Battle of Hoth and taking down one of the Death Stars. I don't know which one.
That's the first Death Star.
Okay. The second one hadn't happened yet. Plus, that wasn't Luke.
The first Death Star I liked a lot. That mission was really fun because it was dramatic and there were so many turrets and I heard so many friends dying and I'm like, Jesus, this is accurate. Yeah, it is, and it felt very cool. And I was like, oh, this is really fun. I like this a lot. And then the Hoth mission, I even have that memory and I'm playing other Star Wars games like Battlefront 2. I'm like, oh, I know this is supposed to be epic and grand. It felt a little flat, but I was like, well, it tried and I appreciated how it did. But yeah, those are the moments that just stick out to me. The Battle of Calamari with the V-Wing. I was like, this is so cool.
None of this is canon, obviously, but the funny thing about the calamari, they completely have changed in canon. The calamari, everybody lived underwater, and there was nothing above water.
Oh, yeah, that's a little different.
So they won't be
there's a comic I read, which is canon, Dark Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith, which is like 26 issues, which he actually did on the show. In that, it talks about what happened to calamari, and in that, it's nothing like, they're all underwater. And they blow the whole planet up.
They do. I think they say it's in the future. Like, I think there's some sort of indication.
Yeah, no,
this is way later.
I didn't catch this until Peter pointed out. Now I'm looking at the crawl for that level. Even says Dark Empire on it.
Right, yeah.
And my brain did not put two and two together.
Yeah, that was a comic book. And that was set a couple of years after Return of the Jedi. I think 5 years
I like. So. And I also like that it's not Luke in this mission. Because they're like, well, we can't have Luke because Luke is off doing other things in Dark Empire. So
I think you're Wedge. I think
you are Wedge.
Yeah. Wedge is way more fun. That's the thing. It goes back to I understand why we're selling the game. We're selling Luke. People like Luke, but man, Wedge just had so much more character and fun. Like, woohoo, let's go! I'm like,
but this is also the time when you had other stuff that was canon that took place afterwards, and I like now that because Peter's introduced me to Dark Empire, Heir to the Empire. We did on the show, and I really like the extra stuff that's happening. I mean, I want these stories to be canon. Like, I want a movie, which I'm not going to get. I want, like, what did Luke do? I don't want to be like, oh, Luke ran away to a temple for 30 years and tried to kill his grandson and, his cousin, whatever the hell, nephew, and then that's it. Like, I don't want that.
You want, like, Luke was having adventures and fighting. There were other bad guys that he defeated and so on and so forth.
I want something more than, I ran away. I built a hut, a temple. I met a Mandalorian. And then I tried to kill my nephew. Like, I don't want that.
I want to jump back for a second because I'm looking at the book, and I wanted to give you the insight of what the booklet says about the Battle of Calamari. This marine world is inhabited by two species, the peaceful Mon Calamari, who live in the islands and floating cities, and the wary Quarren, who live deep beneath the sea and can breathe both air and water. And I'm like, funny you did that, apparently, and it's different. But I completely agree. Like, all these other little stories, I think, are engaging and fun, whether it's Luke or not. And I'm like, oh, that's neat. Yeah. I'm glad to be doing this.
Also, that planet is also in the Clone Wars show, and it's completely underwater too.
Well, it's almost entirely underwater in the book. It's like it's like 99%.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, but that's all later stuff. I mean, that's all way later.
They built artificial islands.
Wasn't canon.
So. If you're going to build spaceships, you're going to have something above water. That's just my thought.
That makes sense.
If you're a spacefaring race, you have to have something that's not, because you're going to get wet. You want all your spaceships to get wet.
You brought up a good point that made me laugh in this game that I was thinking of unrealistic. So when you fly out of your ship, there's no barrier. Like, your ship just flies out of the ship whenever you pick your ship. Again, N64, where I was thinking to myself, there's nothing there. Shouldn't that little pilot just be, as you fly out, he goes, just screams, goes flying out with you?
Well, that's Star Wars. Star Wars always has that thing where there's some sort of force field. Because if you remember in the first movie, they land the Falcon in the Death Star, and then there's like an open bay, but they're just people walking around. I don't know I don't think that could happen in real life, obviously, but they invented some force field.
Sci-fi.
There is one other bonus mission that is hidden as well. It's like an ATST mission.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Yes.
It's co-op.
It's you can use the two controllers on it. It's like very short. It's just you driving the ATST and blowing up things. And there's no plot. It's just like blow up these things. And I think it's just a fun thing they added from what
because there's a code that makes it so every mission you're in an ATST. Hey, fun fact, it doesn't work for most missions. And I activated it and I was walking around and I was like, this is neat. Really? I have no idea why this is here. It's I think you walk so slow because like imagine the missions where you're in the ships, because I'm sure that mission is a lot more to scale, so it's appropriate, for fun. But yeah, any other mission where it's like chase down this train and your ships just zoom off and you're in ATST, like I'll come up, I'll get there.
Yeah. I do like that level of the train, by the way, that where you just shoot the train with like the weapon you never used before, and that's
exactly.
it. I like that train.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. One of the fun missions is the one where it's like, hey, don't blow this up, blow them up, or protect these dudes. It's but no, I was very curious why, because the codes, there's a lot of interesting ones that I was like, I don't get why this is here, but now contextually, that makes sense. I would like to play that mission because
I can't get over like the fact that those world destroyers are from the comic. Like that's just, I don't know, that's really cool. Well, I'm glad they did that because I mean, this would have been for some people, this would introduce them to the comic that they didn't know existed.
Well, when you don't have...
who read the comic, who then forgot they read the comic, and then see this, go, oh, that's cool.
When your only material is either the 3 movies or the comics, or the books, you don't have a lot to choose from. It's not like now where they have like TV shows and more books and other games. It's like you either had, you could only reference a couple things. So there was just like a kind of a dearth of Star Wars at the time.
A whole universe of non-canonical content that just exists now, but was canonical.
There's some really good non-canonical content now.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favorite Star Wars stories is of that bunch. And again, as a person who's not a Star Wars fan, but talking about that again, I mentioned it earlier. I want to bring it up that in the guidebook for the Nintendo 64, they have it's a 5-page little mini comic, and it's like Luke going through something. I didn't read it, but I just thought, oh, that's cute. And then the 6th page of that, there's actually a plug for Star Wars X-Wing Rogue Squadron: The Warrior Princess, and I think it says Fable and trade paperback, but it's also from Dark Horse. I think it's a comic, but I'm like, that's really neat that it's really neat that they're taking a moment, even if it's just in a book club. I'm sure back then almost all kids popped that bad boy open and read it to be like, hey, look at this other thing. If you want to go do that, this is an option. Go look at it.
I mean, there was so much, Star Wars. Dark Horse made a lot of Star Wars comics.
Dark Horse represent.
They're
still here. I actually know somebody who works for like Dark Horse. It's like one of the main artist people. Yeah. But I don't know, it's just neat to think of it as like back then prequels are over. If I understand this came out after the prequels.
They didn't come out yet.
Sorry.
Prequels start the year after this.
Yeah, I meant to say the original trilogy's out.
Oh yeah,
the prequels haven't come out yet.
Right.
Yeah. Those are
83 return.
I don't know, but it seems neat to have the snapshot.
Something like that, isn't it? Yeah, early 80s is Return of the Jedi, right, Peter?
Yeah, that was 83.
Okay.
So there hadn't been a movie out for 15 years by the time this came out.
That also adds like even more context. Like, whoa, I didn't even think about that.
Hey, they're working towards that goal again. I think now with Star Wars after Force Awakens wasn't approved. They're like, we're going to go another 15 years at this rate.
Let it sit on ice for a minute before we bring this back up again.
I mean, as I've said every time we talk about Star Wars, I think that's the right choice because there's nothing built anticipation like being denied something. And if you had a Star Wars movie every year, then people would say, I'm sick of these Star Wars movies.
Like Marvel is happening now.
Yep.
Exactly. So just deny it for the audience for another decade and then bring it back and everybody will love it again.
And you still have these other outlets. And I think compared to today in the modern industry of games of Star Wars, I think that's true for today. The games that people want are the ones that never came out. Star Wars Battlefront 3, 1313. These things that were like, oh shit, this sounds so cool, and then we never even got it. And everyone was like, what the hell?
Never are.
And then the ones we did get, thankfully, I think it's Jedi. Well, I almost said Fallen Order. I think it's a movie. The new one with the weird Force boy traveling through garbage.
You're
planet.
right, Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, okay, good. That is the name. I think that one was like, it's and it's gotten a sequel. Third, I don't know. It's been well received, but I don't think the hype of the ones we didn't get, I think is really impacts.
Jedi Fallen Order is a good game. But yeah, no, it's just different. We also had a Rogue Squadron game came out, or I think it's just called Squadrons, but we did get something.
Yeah, I played that recently, and I did think about that once or twice. I was like, wow, think of where this game, it would be all these years later, the similar name, but it's pretty wild.
This game does have sequels for the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah, it has 2 sequels.
What are the names? Now there's Rogue Leader?
Rogue Leader,
yeah.
And I don't remember the third one. I actually have a
Rebel
copy
Strike.
I have the copy of the second one near me. I'm trying to find it. But yeah, I know it's Rogue Leader.
2 is Rogue Leader, and 3rd is Rebel Strike.
Yeah. I have played Rogue Leader. I think I I might have Rebel Strike in my GameCube collection, but I don't think I've ever played it. So
I never like looking at the box art. I feel like I've seen the box art for Rogue Leader. I do not recognize Rebel Strike at all. I think this game, in my mind, I don't know if it's nostalgia, but feels more iconic for the era. But I mean, I guess as you said, it was, it's the first like flight game that was one of the PC ones, on N64, even though it's at the tail end of the lifespan. I feel like it just really has that nostalgia for a lot of people because it was a big thing back then.
Oh, yes. I wonder if this was, is there a site that I can find N64 sales rankings or something? Because I'm always interested to see what the best-selling games are.
There is, but I don't know that type of stuff, unfortunately.
Because I wonder in terms of Star Wars games, if this was the best-selling Star Wars, for the N64 at least.
It was the 23rd highest-selling Nintendo 64 game of all time.
Well, that's pretty
Shadow of the Empire was 18.
Okay. Well, that makes sense.
And 13 was Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, which also I thought of once or twice while I was playing this. So it was like third or fourth. It wasn't even the highest. But
it wasn't even the highest. Interesting.
Star Wars Episode 1 Racer was. I forgot about that. But I think that also kind of focuses on like the racing, but also I think that one was more kid focused of like, had like the wacky characters and like you had like these like all the stuff on from my vague memory of that game.
Yeah.
You're talking about one of the other versions of it, but yes.
There's no shooting in it. There's no violence.
You just run.
There's a violence when you blast into a rock face and blow up.
There's also a PS2 one. If you're talking about that one, has like the big heads.
Wombats. Oh yeah, I love that one. Is funny in concept and context, but I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, this exists for real. Now I'm scared again.
Yeah, there's some weird shit out there.
I think that's a good note. There's some weird shit out there.
One thing I always kind of wish that Rogue Squadron had would be a multiplayer feature. It would have been nice to play with your friends, even if you're like shooting down each other's ships or something. But this game didn't have it, and maybe they didn't even think about including it because at the time, not all games had multiplayer, or there was no element of that and everything.
So knowing roughly what I remember about like game development times, it is kind of funny to mention that because I thought of instantly of Star Fox 64, which I just know this because I have this list up. That came out in 1997. This game came out in
98.
Yeah, 98, so a year later. And it's funny because to me, with Star Fox 64, it is just third-person linear, but then the multiplayer is dogfighting.
Right.
And I feel like that took a lot of ingenuity and like work to make that happen. But in this, it's like that would have transferred a lot better to a multiplayer, and it didn't. And I think it's kind of funny that you mentioned that. I'm like, yeah, I feel like it should have had that.
And I remember the Star Fox multiplayer being kind of underwhelming.
Yeah,
it is.
It's pretty simple, but like the fact that it's there at all, I'm like, whoa, neat.
Yeah,
but yeah.
I feel like this could have been yeah.
I say the same thing. You go ahead.
We're saying the same things. It could have improved on this, especially if it's a Star Wars themed.
Yeah.
The talented LucasArts could have done a good job of it. But, maybe that just required more time and space, and they didn't have that ability.
Exactly. I bet if you could look up cutting floor content and be like, oh, yeah, that was planned. Just never got there because that's, game development back then was a wild west for everybody.
I do want to play the sequels now. I mean, I've always been curious because I've owned Rebel Leader for years, and I've been curious about it. So, but actually, the more I'm definitely interested to try those at some point now.
Yeah, I might revisit it too. But I haven't played any GameCube stuff for a while. I still have like a Wii, which I have played GameCube stuff on, but it's been years since I've even touched it. So
you're not missing a whole lot, by the way.
I know.
And that's why you bust the Wii out. It's like, no, it's not Mario Galaxy.
Right.
It's Rogue Squadron 2 on GameCube.
I bust the Wii out for GameCube games. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would too. That is my nostalgia era, so I would too if I had a Wii on hand.
I have 3 of them, I think, near me, to be honest with you.
Oh, man.
I don't know why, to be honest.
Do you have the color? Do you have like a white one and a red one or a blue one?
I have a white one. I have a black one. I just have 2 Wii's, and I have a Wii U.
Okay.
I would play the sequel with the exclusive understanding that there's no drop cam. If there's drop cam, I quit. I'm just turning off.
I doubt it. They probably got rid of that.
You go to the settings. It's like, do you want drop cam? No, never.
Drop cam is the default. You have to turn it off. You have to opt out of it.
God,
that sounds accurate, though. That sounds way too accurate to what they would do. So, yeah. All right. Any last things you want to say? I do have one last topic I want to stick a lot on before we go to questions, comments, and memories.
There is a code that you can fly a Buick around. I don't know if any of you saw that.
Oh yeah, I read that.
I didn't try it, but I saw it.
It's very dumb, but it doesn't have any special abilities. It's just you. It's basically an X-wing that looks like a Buick, but it's silly. That's all.
not related at all, but because I was just watching this, I pulled a video of gameplay of Rogue Squadron 2 because I was curious, and like the first like 2 of 5 hours is like all the main story. And then I guess there's an endurance mission where you just go as long as you can. And this dude played it for like 2 hours and he's at like wave 80. And I'm like, friend, that's a lot. Anyway, yeah, I guess that's what I'm going out on because that just blew my mind as I was clicking through this. Like, dude, that's a lot of waves. That's 2 hours of your life just sitting down doing this, whatever. Anyway, yeah, that's my last thought.
How many hours doing this podcast at this point?
Oh, I'd rather do that than shoot at ships for 2 hours and be like, yeah, look at me go. That's a long time. My back hurts thinking about that.
You're not even as old as I am, so. Okay, I'm sold on Rogue Leader. I just clicked on a random image of it or video of it, and I see you get to drive a cloud car. I'm sold. I have a thing for cloud cars, by the way.
Well, this is the game for you. I don't think you get in every mission, though.
No, so. You probably just get in the level of your investment. I mean, what the hell is a cloud car really going to do? But I don't know. I just really like that vehicle for some reason. Okay, so I'm sold on Rogue Leader. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about is I sent because I completely forgot this existed. And then as I was Googling stuff, so I sent a teaser trailer for the movie that was supposed to come out soon, it says in the trailer 2 years ago, a Star Wars Rogue Squadron movie directed by Patty Jenkins.
Yeah, I don't know if that's ever happening.
And it makes me sad because like they made this whole teaser trailer where she talks about it, and then she walks off to get into an X-Wing. Of course, X-Wing's not real. But it's just like, I'm like, fucking A, why couldn't... And she's like, I'll see you soon. And I looked this up, it's 2 years ago.
Yeah. That movie's been in development hell for a long time, and I doubt it will ever be made.
Is there a reason why? It's like, what's their issue?
I mean, I think they've moved away from movies for one thing, and they wanted to focus on TV. And I don't know anything more beyond that. They might have been like, they might be saving it for a couple of years, or starting it until people want to watch movies again that are Star Wars. But
I mean, I do, but I think I'm more of I also like almost all. I like majority of the ones that Disney released, all but one. I don't know. There's probably some thing online about checking in about Rogue Squadron movie. Let's look it up. It just makes me sad, like, because they were, Patty Jenkins. I know Wonder Woman 1984 was not well received. That's a bad movie, by the way. But I know that played a big part, and I feel like that could have, like, that movie just bombed, and it also came out during COVID, so it didn't even come out on, right. You had to get HBO Max. So I don't think, but it just makes me sad because, like, I want to say, well, still 2 years ago would have been like COVID when COVID was hitting everything. So like, it just, I don't know, just seeing that trailer or teaser trailer for this, I'm like, damn it, I really do want a Rogue Squadron movie now. It would be really cool. And I would definitely think that's something I would go see as well. Well, I'd go see any Star Wars movie, but I'd be excited for Rogue Squadron. I would also love a Rogue Squadron based in this game world where Luke is in it. Just recast Luke, damn it. I don't need Mark Hamill. It's okay. Like, I love Mark Hamill, but it's okay. Like, you can recast. I think everyone would love to see like Wedge and Luke or, whoever, Hobby or whatever the other peoples are all together. But
because I had no comment for any of this because I don't even know who that actress or writer. I guess the writer of Wonder Woman. I didn't. Patty Jenkins is the director. Yeah, I'm very the writer too. Wonder Woman first movie is great, by the way. I'm very unplugged when it comes to movies, but I was looking at the second movie that isn't good. The most recent update was in December of 2022. When a bunch of other Disney movies were announced, some unannounced were pulled. That one was just pulled off the release schedule. Yeah, it's not happening. It's just, I forgot about it until I went and Googled this, and I'm like, oh yeah, we were supposed to get that. It also wasn't a video game adaptation, apparently. I'm learning, so I don't care. I want this game, and it's like, I thought that'd be fun. It'd be a little. I mean, we did get, forget what year, it wasn't too long ago, we did get that Rogue, it's not called Rogue Squadron, it's called, I think, Star Wars Squadrons, which is essentially them trying to bring back this idea, and I'm happy that they're doing things with this, like, because this franchise has pretty much been dead for since we got Rogue Rebel Strike on GameCube, and that was it, and there was nothing. A group of people I hang out with in real life, they talk a lot about Squadrons, and they praised it a lot. And looking at the ratings, it's like 7 and 8, but to some that's a failure. But hey, it came out 2020. Yeah, I don't think it did well enough to continue, but I think people liked it a lot because I think it's a really solid, from what I heard them talking about, like space, dogfighting space game. Mm-hmm. I heard. Andrew Reiner, who was in Game Informer at the time, I know he loved it. And it's sad to think about because it's like, it feels like another instance of modern game culture where it's like, oh, this game's really great, and a lot of people loved it. How well did it do in reviews and sales? All right, okay, yeah, forget it. We're done. And I'm like, oh. Also, if you're like me and grab every free Epic game, you have it for free in your library on Epic.
I grab every single game. Every week they do free games on Epic, and every week I grab them. I don't care what the hell they are. I just grab them because I'm like, you never know. And it's
20 years you'll be doing the review for Star Wars Squadrons.
I don't like the idea that might be very true, the 20-year part, but you never know with this show. But yeah, no, I grab all of them just because. And I have that in my library somewhere. I do want to play it though, because especially playing this, except I won't be able to cheat. But with newer games, you don't need to cheat as much.
I did a few missions back because I played Rogue Squadrons just a few months ago when I was getting ready to play with some of the friends, like just to kind of warm up. And it was like, there's a lot more plot. It's a 20-year difference, night and day of like, Luke, let's go get him, to like, oh, am I good? Am I bad? I'm playing two different characters in the struggle, eternal good versus evil. And I'm like, all right, let's breathe, calm down. Let me just blow things up in space and maybe on a planet or two. Come on.
I'm all right with that though. Yeah, no, it's in my library. Okay. Yeah, no, but it's just cool. I was just glad that they did something with the franchise, essentially like that. Also, I'm just glad they're making better Star Wars games because EA had the license and the EA made some crap. So
yeah, I think that's something we can all be happy about.
All right, let's go on to questions, comments, and memories. I did get a few, which made me happy. I'm always glad people have stuff to say about a game they loved or didn't love, depending on the case. All right, let's see here. I watched the entire Overlord Super replay. First from Joey Rosenberger. I love being able to pick any ship I wanted. A-Wing is still a beast. I got nothing.
You don't have friends here, my friend. Sorry. Keep moving.
That was really fast.
Yeah, and it blows up real fast too, by the way. And from Adrian Blair, my favorite thing is that the devs hid the Naboo starfighter in the game and kept it a secret until Phantom Menace came out. That's just not something you could do anymore.
Yeah.
That is completely true.
It is.
Because the internet would know. All right, and from William Izari, one of the great games for cheat codes. The Buick, the Falcon, and the Naboo starfighter were hella fun to use. This is also a key game for my Star Wars lore knowledge. General Crix Medine is burned into my brain because of the Corellia mission.
Nice.
Yeah.
Right. And from the official Laser Time community, I got one comment from John Barnes. Raid on Sullust, the volcano stage, was a roadblock I had to cheat through and rent in the N64 version. You're forced to use a slow and less maneuverable Y-Wing the first time through, and there are seeker missile launchers everywhere. I couldn't deal with it. Some years later, I managed to get gold on it on the PC version while playing on the keyboard, surprising myself. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that level is fucking annoying.
He's right.
Yep.
I mean, it's cool, but is it annoying?
If someone forced me to play this game with keyboard and mouse, I'd probably just start crying. I would do it, but I'd be crying the whole time. Because that sounds like hell, so kudos.
Random fact that I just noticed because I'm watching videos. In the third game, you actually have parts where you're outside the ship for some reason.
Yeah.
That gives me Star Fox
more
vibes.
That's weird.
I'm uncomfortable.
It's like Urban Strike.
Oh, God.
I still like that. I still want to replay that game.
I will talk with you about that. I will talk with you about it.
I do want to put on this. Okay. And I got a few more from the last group, the N64 super group. Let's see, from EJ Rowe. To this day, all it takes is an image from Raid on Sullust, and I will hear the missile warning sounds when I sleep for a week. From Brock Power. This was the game Shout Out the Empire always should have been. Shout Out the Empire is good. From Joseph Jasper. The story was eye-opener for me, more than the movies too, and wish Kashan got more screen/book time. From David Bryant. I still play this game now. I think it would have made a great multiplayer game, either doing co-op or versus play. We talked about that. From Chris McArdle. This game is absolutely incredible. When it released, it's still fun today, in my opinion. It still is. And from Darren Herrick. Honestly, I hate escort missions, but I love the variety in Rogue Leader, and Squadrons is my favorite with all those space battles and customized loadabout. But more is better, and everyone has their favorite. In other words, not this game, but okay.
I was wondering. I was like, wait, hold on. I'm bored with
I was like, there are no space battles in this game. I'm like, well, Squadrons.
But that does. Hearing someone talk about that, I was like, oh, that does sound nice.
No, I'm on board to play more of the series now that I finally. So this game's actually been on the list to be on the show since early the show, and we are now in the 200s, and it finally got on the show. But hey, it happens. Let's see. And okay, from Patrick Kendall. Love this game. Very glad I completed all gold medals at one point. From Fred Lamberton. I still play it from time to time. I prefer the sequel on GameCube, which still holds up to today's standards, both graphically and overall gameplay. This and Shadows of the Empire were the main reason I got an N64. Rogue Squadron will always be a very special game to me. And last I'm going to read from Pi Zing. TIE Interceptor was fun. I put in the code, but I didn't actually try the TIE Interceptor.
I couldn't figure out how to get to it. I kept flipping through the ships, and I was like, I don't see it.
I think you have to. There is a way to get to it, but it's not apparent. Yeah.
Yeah, I kept getting up and down every other ship, be like, maybe it's here.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a speeder bike mission in the third game. Oh, I'm sold. Okay. I have a thing for the speeder bikes, so.
I mean, yeah, I think we're going to talk about it, but this game, I want to love it, but I only love it in very specific moments. I'm like, ugh.
Well, that brings us to our last thing, shelf stacker box. And Star, why don't you go first since you're already starting? Anyway.
No, you're good. I'm just putting it in the box. I think if you have nostalgia for this game, it's not box. But if it's just like, yeah, I kind of remember it. Oh, box. I don't. Or you really love Star Wars now and you want to see like what Star Wars was like all this time ago. There's the meat on this bone. It is tough and hard, but then there's nuggets of juicy goodness, and it just makes me want more of that. So
that's fine. You don't have the nostalgia for it like me and Peter do.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying if you have that nostalgia, it's probably not a box for you. You go back and probably, even if you'd be like, oh, I hate this game, but I love it at the same time. I don't think anyone who has nostalgia for this game would go back and be surprised with how it makes them feel.
Yeah, and Peter, what about you?
I have nostalgia for this game. I'd probably keep it in the stack because I haven't, before I was playing it for this podcast, I hadn't played it in a while. But I will definitely revisit it, in a couple years. I think it has a lot of memories for me. It's really fun in a lot of parts to it. When I revisit it, I tend not to play the frustrating levels. So I just skip over that stuff. I just get to the fun stuff, which is blowing stuff up. And this is a really good game for blowing stuff up with not a lot of extraneous story and stuff. So keep it in the stack.
Okay, I'll go last. I'm going to do a Peter. I'm put this in the stack too. I mean, I enjoyed this game. I had fun, but I'm in the same boat. I have this is not something I would recommend people go back to unless you're, because it was hard to play. I mean, and the fact that I had used cheat codes if save states don't suffice, where I can't just like redo what my mistake was and I need to actually cheat. I don't like that preferably because that kind of makes you go, yeah, your game's a little too hard for me. So that was an issue, but no, I just go in stack. But I had a great time. And playing this on a plane with Star Wars music in your ears was fucking awesome. I get to say I played this Rogue Squadron at 10,000 feet in the air. So, hey, that's awesome.
So two scenarios. You play it if you have nostalgia and you really want to experience it, and even if it's just the good parts, or B, you have to be on a plane. It's the only way. Sorry.
It was cool.
Is there a Mile High club for video games?
I would like to know, yeah.
It's just funny. I just found it just hilarious that both times I've flown in a plane, I just happened to have a flying sim but a flying game on the show. Last time was Star Fox Assault, the GameCube game. So I just found it amusing it's happened twice now.
Right.
And neither one was on purpose. Third one might be on purpose, depending on, but I might be flying sooner than later, so I don't know. So, yeah. All right. I think that's all I need to say. And if you do want to hear the rest of our Star Wars talks, I'm not going to read out everything, but because I made a list, in the show notes, as long as it lets me, will be all the Star Wars content we have done on this show. You will see the links and everything right in the show notes. So if you want to hear us talk about Star Wars, there's 20 some other episodes to talk about Star Wars. So go check that out. And Star, where can people find you at?
Probably mostly on Twitch, Square Milk, if I'm there. There's at least a profile. Whether I'm there or not, that's always up in the air.
And Peter, where can people find you at?
On Twitter, I'm at PeterBP. And from there, you can find a link to The Fifth Civilization, which is the first book that I published. It's available on Amazon.com.
Very good, I can finally say. So I finally read it after all the times that we've been doing this episode and people heard me. Like I bought a copy and I actually read half of the copy. So I'm working on it.
It's a start.
Yes, I'm going to go read more because I'm enjoying it. I should talk about what we're talking about next week. Next week on the show, you can hear us talk about Sailor Moon, Sailor Moon Pretty Soldier, another story. A Super Nintendo RPG that never came to America. It's like it's to fight evil by moonlight and winning love by daylight. I love Sailor Moon. But yeah, the game is actually pretty damn good. So that's why I've been playing a lot of that. And no, it's not yet. All right. And if you enjoyed this episode, there's over 400 other episodes for you to go take a look at of this show. If you want to support the show, we do a Patreon. For Little Star, you can vote in our Patreon polls. And at the time you're hearing this, it is a new month of Patreon. So we will have a new poll. It's going to be Marvel movies that Mike has never seen. And believe that, there are some actually. Not many, but the choices are Daredevil, Fantastic Four 2016, Punisher Warzone, or Hulk, the 2003 movie. You get to choose which one of those. I've actually never seen those movies. And because I just want to fill out the poll right, because there's only 5, also never seen Elektra. So this will be the first poll. It has 5 movies. You can also vote for that terrible Elektra movie. Don't do that. I don't want to see that. So watch, that's going to be the one that gets voted on.
Don't say that.
Yeah, when you say it, it makes it so.
Yeah, I control 2 of the votes, so. 2 of the people that are, because one is me and one is my wife, because she subscribed because she wanted to vote for something, even though I told her not to. But so I control. I have 2 votes. I have some control. And if you want to talk to us, we have a Discord. Please go join our Discord. You'll see the link in the show notes to everything that I have mentioned. And please, I want to give a shout out to my awesome intro and outro courtesy of Helena at HellHasFear. You can follow her on TikTok. And give a shout out to my buddy Bill Tucker, who started his own podcast, Gamer Looks at 40, where he interviews people how video games affect their lives. Very good show. Definitely go check him out. You see the link in the show notes. And also if you want to help support the show, also you can please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and on YouTube. We're audio only, but we are on YouTube. I think that's everything I need to say. So we will see you all next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.